The brain is built within the first 3 years of life. It's so important for healthy fats to be consumed at that time frame because you can't really go back. That is the time.
Welcome to Transforming the Toddler Years, a Core 4 parenting podcast for conscious, cycle-breaking parents ready to turn toddler tantrums into teachable moments. Hi, I'm Cara Tyrrell, a lifetime lover of littles, mom to 2 grown and flown girls, and an early childhood educator. Through the show, I teach you my collaborative parenting methodology for nurturing your little human's mind, body, and spirit. Because how you connect and collaborate in the first 5 years is how you raise happy, healthy kids who grow into the best version of themselves and find true success in school and life. Do you ever worry about what foods your kids are eating? Do you think about what's happening inside their growing bellies and their gut biome? Today, my guest is here to educate you all about this. Madeline Lauf is the founder and CEO of Begin Health, a company focused on children's digestive health through prebiotic supplements. Growing up in rural Illinois, she developed a passionate interest in children's health after witnessing the widespread consumption of processed food and its impacts on youth wellness. We dive deep into so many different avenues, and be prepared to be amazed by the brains of this amazing human who started this company. She really has done her research. She has dove into all the studies, and she knows how to help you support your child to be the healthiest version of themselves from tinyhood. And as she says, create a gut blueprint that stays with them for life. Madeline, thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to be talking about young children starting their lives with healthy gut health and weight management. And you are here to share so much with us. Thank you.
Absolutely excited to be here.
So, what's really strange is this morning, I knew I had this interview coming up, and my husband and I were talking, and he said, do you realize just how much processed junk we ate when we were kids? And now we're adults, and actually we run a little farm, like we live off the earth as much as possible, process our own food. And we're realizing that moving backwards to counteract what we did as youngsters is really hard. So you got proactive, and you're here to share with us all about how parents can take this step now.
Absolutely. And you know what? Kudos to you for building your own little mini farm there and working towards eating foods that come directly from, the earth that you have cultivated. And I think that's just so important. And we've lost sight of that. Back in the day, that was something that was a lot more prevalent. A lot of families had little farms, right? And were able to sustain themselves with just some eggs or meat from their own little plot. But we really lost our way there. And unfortunately, it has led to some really devastating health challenges that we face as a country.
Yeah. Ironically, this last weekend, it's a family event. It's what last weekend we processed the beef and then we wrap the beef. It's just a family thing that we do. And we have pork and beef for the whole year long. So tell us why this matters so much. What is the state of health and what is the state of our innards as Americans right now?
Yeah, this was something that was just so important to me. I come from rural Illinois, the American Midwest, and I grew up around farms. And the challenge is that, over the years, you look around and you see that we are more and more sick. And it's one of those things that it almost feels like it happened overnight, but it really has been happening. To your point, you were mentioning eating processed foods as a kid. And even now more so, it's just, if you thought you were eating processed foods then, like now we're really screwed, right? It's just become more and more prevalent in the American diet. And we really traded convenience for long-term health. And it is not okay. The state is absolutely dire. The fact that half of American children will have a chronic illness by 2035 is not okay. right? We look around. To me, health is our first freedom. If we are
Mm,
sick, we are dependent, we are unwell mentally, we are unwell from a physical standpoint. And that's a problem, right? Because that leads to so many other downstream impacts to not only our families, but to our country. And so for me, it was so important that we address this crisis in health. And I really believe that the way is not, improving this access to healthcare. While that is important, we all would love access to healthcare. The challenge is we can't be sick to begin with. And that was really for me why I started a kids health company, because as adults, we can make choices. We know better. Believe me, with my family, I see this. It's like, do we really need this, seed oil, processed food, donut today or not? The challenge is that with kids do not have that choice. It's what is happening to them. And just by looking at, the modern parent, the parent that is on the go, working hard, just trying to make ends meet, shuffling kids back and forth from school to daycare to, what have you, activities, we really were starting to turn to those convenience factors. And so I wanted to build a company that was a partner to parents on the most important journey, which is that of their kids' health.
amazing. Oh, I remember when my girls were little, they're 2 years apart almost to the day. And, it was just that easy and convenient factor, the goldfish and then the mac and cheese and all the
Yep.
things. And we were having very big behaviors, Madeline, very big. And
Yeah.
when we went gluten free with
Mm,
our kiddo, everything started to mellow out. And I was shocked. And then I did a little research and found that essentially we're saturated in it. That the foods in the United States now, used to have
yeah.
some, and now like everything has it. What's going on with that whole gluten intolerant thing that's happening? And is it happening in kids?
Oh, yeah. So, what's really interesting about the gluten thing, and I'm still on my own research path with this because I have heard this similar outcome that if you remove the glutens, you are able to have lower inflammation or you're having less challenges overall with your digestive health. I read this really wonderful book all about the state of wheat in America. And wheat, it's, these ancient grains and this whole concept that over the years, like that has changed. We started changing the way that we process wheat. And so it's different in Europe than it is in America. And essentially what they were saying was that the way that we changed our processing of that wheat, it makes it so it's harder on us to digest.
Mm,
And not only that, but there's also this whole, emergence of these pesticides, and they are really, really wreaking havoc on our diets, in our stomachs, in our health. And so a lot of people do remove the gluten and they see a positive outcome. However, it's not clear if it's the gluten itself or if it is just overall removing or decreasing their use of specific products. And so
mm.
that's something that, I'm still curious about. It's like, you're not really sure, like, was it the gluten or was it just like removing and making a substitute to what would have otherwise been, a heavy pesticide induced wheat product?
Oh, I'm listening to you talk and I'm thinking, who would choose to put pesticide in their body, right? If it's in front of you and that's just what you're reading, you would never pick it, but we do. It's so
Yeah.
fascinating. This
And that talk
morning,
about another super complicated, super politicized, there's pro, the pro category people will say that that's how we feed the world at scale, right? The negative, people that would be against this would say, well, we're harming ourselves. So is this really positive? So that is a whole, rabbit hole. However, we can just know though that yes, like we should strive to remove the glyphosate from our farms, from our food supply, because everything we know so far is that it is harmful to us and that it is not productive for our overall health.
Okay, Toddler Tribe, I'm going to get you back to this episode in just a minute, but I wanted to tell you something that I don't think people tell you enough. Toddlerhood is not terrible. It's not meant to be. It's meant to be a terrific time of exploration and learning and deep connection between parent, caregiver, and child. And so I invite you to go have a look at my Transforming the Toddler Years course, because it doesn't have to be as hard as it feels every single day. We'll look through the 6 soul and science-based modules together. The magic of your mindset. I'll talk you through the power of your perspective and how you can truly shift everyday moments. I crack the hood on what's going on in your baby's brain, break down the linguistics of the language we use, how we talk to kids, and how they hear us. And then we go all in on the science of strategies and build you a personalized parenting toolkit that allows you to tackle every day and feel a real sense of accomplishment that you are raising your unique, authentic child to be the very best version of themselves, and you're growing every day too. I'm 100% in your corner. These are all self-paced modules, but every course purchase comes with free access to our bi-monthly group coaching program for 3 whole months. So hop on in and let's get started transforming your toddler years today. Use the link in the show notes, and I cannot wait to see you there. So with early childhood education, when we tackle something in the first 3 or 4 years of a child's life, it's that massive window of availability, right? The big cognition burst. It's basically our invisible years opportunity. Is the same true with early health, that if we set these standards for what they are taking into their bodies from their very first year on, that they will be kind of pre-designed to be more healthy and make healthier choices as they age?
So as it comes to the gut microbiome, we are learning more and more. And you absolutely, are very accurate in saying that we know that, for example, the brain is built within the first 3 years of life. It's so important for healthy fats to be consumed at that time frame because you can't really go back. That is the time. And so what we're learning now about the gut microbiome specifically, which I'm very passionate about because I really believe that the gut microbiome is essentially the command center of our health, especially at this early age. And I firmly do believe that the future of health really will depend on understanding more about our gut composition and some of the triggers or challenges that we are seeing with it and how they can be modified to have an improved or better life outcome. When it comes to kids, what we are learning about the gut is that the gut print is what we call it, is almost like your fingerprint, right? It's what will live with you for your life. It is starting to be developed up until what we're seeing is about age 8. That is the time that your gut is most malleable, and little changes actually, they don't take that long to make. But if you're able to establish the healthy gut microbiome at that early age, that will be your gut signature going into adulthood. What that means is, say, you're a teenager and you have a round of antibiotics. You will decimate your gut microbiome. But then it starts to balance back out to what was your original gut print. And that will hopefully start to reseed and it will repopulate the positive gut bugs. So you want to build a very strong, resilient gut microbiome at early age, as that will help with lifelong health.
Wow. really this invisible work that happens inside our bodies at that young age is so important. And the work you're doing to investigate beyond, right, the frontal lobe and all the cognition that we do as teachers, this is powerful stuff. And we know the brain gut connection
Yes.
and the food choice stuff. So I wanted to bring this up with you today because I saw it on the news and I was like, wow, this is timing. That in Michigan, there were protesters outside the Kellogg's facility.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see this?
I did. I think I saw also the movement online. I was like, wait, are we a part of this? We should be.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this idea that breakfast cereals, and we all know the sugar cereals aren't good for you, right? They're like the choice the kids want because they're sweet. But this idea that breakfast cereals in the United States actually continue to have things in them like the red dye, even though they shouldn't anymore, and other countries don't. What have you learned about those ingredients and why they are so detrimental to young kids as they're building that gut biome?
Yeah. And you know what? I think this is the beauty that, as a company, our whole mission is to help educate families on health and nutrition, right? That is our number one goal. And it is so inspiring to see families essentially waking up and taking matters into their own hands to demand more from companies. And I think it is so incumbent on the American consumer to demand more. It is not okay that companies do choose all these ingredients that happen to be banned overseas, and they continue to use them in American products, whether it's because it's cheaper, if it's more marketing appeal, because of the color or taste. We know that those ingredients are harmful and we should be removing them as fast as we humanly can, right? And so to see people rising up and vocalizing that demand is to me, a very positive sign, because it means that the consumer is starting to take that responsibility. They are starting to read those labels and they are starting to understand that this is not okay, and they demand and expect more. And that's why for a company at Begin Health, we have a no compromise policy. We are so invested in making sure that all of our ingredients are clean, that they are sourced from top sources, that we know exactly what is going into our products. And truthfully, it makes it a lot harder as a business because it is a lot easier to include fillers, include preservatives, include, fun, cheap colors, because it was more expensive than to include a fruit powder, for example. And so, we are really invested in continuing to innovate and find solutions that are using as clean label as possible, as few fillers as possible, to create our own products.
Oh, it's just amazing. And as I was reading through your website, I had to kind of do one of those Google pronunciations on many of these things, which is a good sign because it means. So I would love for you to tell us a little bit about the difference between a prebiotic and a probiotic,
Yes.
and why prebiotics are what you really recommend for these young kids.
Yes, for sure. So the difference between prebiotics and probiotics is that the probiotics are the living bacteria. So I start with probiotic because that's the one that most families are aware of. It's the one that has been around for a long time. It is the living bacteria. It is found in yogurts. It's found in fermented foods. It's in kefir, and it's the positive gut microbes that live within inside of us as well. And so we call the positive gut bugs the bifidobacteria. That is one of many species of positive gut microbes. But the probiotics are the living bacteria that live within us, have co-evolved with us for a long, long time. The prebiotics, which are something that people are now starting to learn a little bit more about, is that the prebiotics are the food for the probiotics. So the prebiotics feed the good gut bugs. And so this is what we get from our nutrition. They are the non-digestible fibers that serve as the nourishment for the beneficial bacteria. I am such a pro, no pun intended, on the prebiotics because they feed the bugs that are native to us already inside of us. Sometimes, and even I personally do not take a probiotic because I prefer to get my living bacteria from food. So I prefer to get my probiotics from yogurts, from kefir, from fermented sauerkrauts, and other fermented foods. But they work really well synergistically, meaning that they work together. One feeds the other, and it can proliferate the positive good gut bugs that we know are tied to positive digestive health, positive immunity, and some other factors, including building up in that lining of your gut microbiome barrier. You want that to be very strong because your gut microbiome consists of this, your digestive tract, that if you do not feed those good gut bugs, you can start to wear away at the lining of your gut. And then that's when things can flow through, which is what leads to the inflammation, what leads to some of the even immunocompromised challenges that people do have, because that lining is being broken down. And so we want to keep that lining super strong and very healthy. And one of the ways to doing that is to helping build the good gut bugs inside of you and nourishing them. If you don't nourish them, they will be depleted and they start eating each other, basically. So we don't want to do that, or eating your gut lining, rather. But that's something that we want to be careful of.
Wow, I'm learning so much. And, as much as I hope that I did a heads up job with my girls who are now 20 and 22, I know that one of them particularly struggled with constipation in such an intense way that we actually had to go get medical help to solve it. I imagine
Not
that.
alone. You are not alone.
Oh, I know. I know. And I'm just looking at your product and I'm looking at these small humans who are 1 year old and up. And I'm thinking they must not have that difficulty.
Yeah. So, this is the thing that this is why the gut microbiome is so important. And that is because what we are now experiencing, as I will call it a civilization, is that our gut microbiomes are under attack. They are being attacked from all different areas. We have families that are vaginal birth. They are fully breastfed. They are eating organic foods. They are doing everything by the book, per se, and yet their kiddo is still struggling. And why is that? It's because as a civilization, again, we are having troubles with the gut and feeding the good gut bugs and having them be alive because of the increased use in antibiotics. As we're finding out, the more antibiotics that essentially even mom has means that the depletion of mom's gut microbiome means that the baby is inheriting even less gut microbiome bacteria. Now think about this over generations, right? Our environment is clean. Some people say it's too clean. And that is leading to the clean theory, which is that we are not interacting with these bugs. So if we do come in contact with it, our immune system is not really ready to fight it, right? So you can be doing everything right as a parent and still having your kiddo struggle with constipation and or other digestive health issues, right? So, it's so important to think about and audit your own life and understanding like what could be a trigger for your little one.
Yeah. And it's so funny now that I think about it, that kiddo I'm telling you about in her younger years, she moved to Tokyo and she eats a ton of fermented foods now. Problem solved.
Wow. Wow.
I
Yeah.
heard you say that and I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, that's
No,
a culture thing
Japan
there.
has a fabulous diet.
Yeah, amazing. So, how often do kids need to use your prebiotic? Every day, multiple times a day? I mean, I imagine the dosing can be tricky, especially
Yeah.
when kids aren't used to taking something like this.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start off with saying we built growing up prebiotics, which is a prebiotic product for toddlers and kids, ages 1 and up, that has two ingredients only. And, again, that's very important. The fewer ingredients, the better, in my opinion, right? Two ingredients, human milk oligosaccharide and chicory root fiber. And I'm the first to say, if you can't say it, put it back. Who could say, human milk oligosaccharide? What is that? And so I'll break it down really quick. Human milk oligosaccharide, so is the prebiotic, the leading prebiotic found in human breast milk. It's the third most abundant component of breast milk. And in breast milk, there's hundreds of prebiotics. And so the science now has isolated the most abundant one, which is the 2FL. And again, there's many of them, but they feed the positive gut bugs, and they have a lot of other really beautiful attributes. But for us, it's really focused on the good gut bugs, helping with softer stooling, and really improving that gut barrier. And so that's the first product, this growing up prebiotics. It's also paired with 3 grams of chicory root fiber. This is a very clean fiber. It's been very well studied in children, and over 6 weeks of use has led to softer stooling and more comfort in stooling. So we've paired these ingredients together to provide a product that, yes, feeds the good gut bugs. It helps bridge the fiber gap. 95% of kids and adults are not getting enough fiber. And so that helps bridge that fiber gap. And so for kiddos ages 1 to 3, we recommend 1 dose, which is 3 grams of the fiber. For kids 4 and up, we recommend up to 2 doses of the product over the day. And that leads to about 6 grams of fiber in the diet. So overall, this is something that was built to be tasteless and textureless, especially for the kiddos that are supreme picky eaters. They're struggling to, eat their fruits and vegetables. And believe me, we say if you can get your kiddo to have fruits and vegetables, like that is the number one goal. This product is for kiddos that are struggling to do so. So being able to sneak it into foods, we have so many kiddos that are able to improve their underlying gut microbes, but also lead to more regular and predictable stooling.
Wow. I'm got a Rolodex of families in the back of my brain going, oh my gosh, I can't wait to share this with this people and these clients. And it's going to be so powerful for them. All right. My last question about this is, what if you've got a kid, a 3, a 4, or 5-year-old, who is, for lack of a better word, addicted to all the foods that we shouldn't be eating?
Mm.
Is this going to do its job if we can? Because some kids, you can't just take them off that diet and say, we're plant-based now, right? They don't make the shift very well. So what effect is this going to have for a kid who continues to eat all of those preservative-filled foods?
Yes. Okay. Great question. Loaded question. But one of the things that we find with the gut microbiome composition is that a lot of times the kiddos, it's not that they are choosing the bad foods. It's that actually the bugs are choosing the bad foods for them because they want to be fed. And so you can take somebody with a unfortunately a dysregulated gut microbiome, and they're craving sugar because the sugar is feeding those bad bugs. And so it's sending neurotransmitters essentially to your brain to go find sugar, go find these things. A lot of kids struggle I think the term, I forget what it is, you may know it, where they only want to eat pasta. It's like the white diet or something.
Oh, yeah.
Pasta, carbs, bread, noodle, do you know what that's called?
I can't think of the name, but I
Yeah,
know,
but
yeah,
it's
I've heard
like
it.
it's one of those things, right? And it's like, well, is it really your kid or is it actually their gut microbes? And so what we want to do is we want to balance those out. We want to build up the good gut bugs and we want to starve out the bad bugs. By building up the positive population, by feeding the good gut bugs, they will start to take over and hopefully crowd out the bad bugs to the point where they kind of die off. It's really interesting. You take an experiment with someone who like craves sugar and you start building these gut microbes, helping feed them fiber, and then all of a sudden those cravings start to decrease. So no, I don't know if I can say that, this is going to fix all of your kiddos' problems, but what we have found is that a lot of times when the kiddos are constipated or they're carrying a large fecal load, they are generally irritable, they are uncomfortable, they are having behavioral, outlashes, and it's just because they're not feeling their best. And so by helping regulate stooling, it can help to get them to be a little bit more calm and maybe not have so many behavioral challenges, and they might be more open to foods. One other outcome that we have seen with kiddos that are typically picky eaters, some of them are so picky, have to be on appetite, it's enhancers, something like that, because they just don't want to eat. And so, they might be underweight, they might, have these types of issues. And so the prebiotics have helped improve their appetite. Now, there's no clinical study on this, so I want to be super mindful about that. But that is helpful because that means that hopefully they're building the good gut bugs, and their appetite is increased from that. So, these are the types of things is we want to regulate the gut microbes to be more balanced, to have more of the good gut bugs, and slowly over time decrease those processed foods. And, my number one recommendation to parents is like, look, to be a kid, it means to like have fun. You want to eat, chicken nuggets and pizza and fries. Like even myself, like I have a diet of a small child sometimes because I love these foods too. But when you can make them at home, that is my recommendation. So make your chicken nuggets at home, take the bread and make your crumbs and cut up the chicken and, just bake them at home versus getting them from the store. You'll find that half the time it's more affordable, and it's even yummier, so same with, making your own pizza at home or what have you. If you can make these foods that they love in the alternative version at home, that can be very helpful because the kiddo is still excited to eat them, but that it's nourishing them at the same time.
Well, all right, there you have it. All to my toddler tribe. This is a win-win-win, right? You take that last tip from Madeline and you think about the fact that if you can, and I loved how you said this, if you can regulate a dysregulated microbiome, you're also going to have the outcome of emotional regulation, which is what all the parents out there are really looking for. A kid who can stay calmer and more in control, and then access their executive functioning brain to make better choices. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, this has just been a wealth of information. Now your job, everyone, is to go follow Begin Health on Instagram and click the link in the show notes and go directly to their website and take advantage of what it looks like is a 25% off first order offer.
Yes, thank you, Cara. Really appreciate you. And please let us know if we can help any of your families. We're here standing by to help.
Amazing. And I look forward to whatever you come up with next because I can tell
that's a
with your
great, yes, exciting topic. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have you back in the future to talk about what comes next. But for right now, everyone, get your kids some growing up prebiotic and help them live a healthy early gut life. You know what to do, everybody out there. Until our next episode, stay mindful and proactive as we transform the toddler years.